So there was this girl named Rebecca, and her mom gave her some money one day to buy lunch after school. On the way, she passed a store that had this doll in the window that was holding up one finger. Rebecca thought the doll was really cool, so she brought it instead of buying food. When she got home with the doll, she left it downstairs and went upstairs to do her homework. A little while later, the doll began walking up the stairs saying on step Rebecca, 2-step Rebecca, and so on in a sing-song voice, all the way up to 10 stairs. After that he said, I'm here Rebecca. Later on, Rebecca's mother came home, made dinner, and called Rebecca downstairs. When Rebecca didn't come, she said, Rebecca, don't make me go up there. Rebecca still didn't come, so her mom went upstairs to get her, and when she got to Rebecca's room, Rebecca was dead on her bed, with blood everywhere, and the doll was standing on her dresser, now holding up 2 fingers. The fingers were the number of people he'd killed. This has creeped me out ever since I heard this one. Every time I saw a painting with eyes, I would just chuck a coat over the painting. One night there was a man walking alone in the woods. He noticed that it was getting dark outside and he needed to find a place to sleep. Eventually, he came across a cabin and decided it would suffice. When he went in, he noticed that the walls were covered in paintings of people and their eyes seemed to be following him. It freaked him out a little, but since it was late, he decided to ignore it and go to sleep. When he woke up in the morning, he noticed that the paintings were gone and there were only windows. There are different versions of this one story, but I will tell the version that I know. There are 2 girls who are best friends and decided they would live together when they went to college. One of the girls was lazy and didn't want to study for an exam the next day. However, the other girl was hard-working and wanted good grades. She was studying but forgot a book that was in the bathroom. She didn't want to wake up her friend and decided to look for the book while the lights was off. She heard loud breathing coming from her mate and asked if she was awake and if she could turn on the light, but there was no answer and decided to keep the light off. When she returned with the book, she studied for a while more and decided to go to bed. When she woke up the next day, she found her friend in a puddle of blood on the bed with a message written on blood on the wall that read, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? In Hawaii there is a place called Morgan's Corner in Oahu. Legend says that a young couple were getting hot and heavy in the car and heard tapping on the roof. The girl was getting nervous and asked her boyfriend if they could leave, but then the car wouldn't start. Since this was the time before cell phones, the boyfriend had to go out to find some help, leaving his girlfriend to wait. Eventually, she heard tapping on the roof again, so she left the car to find her boyfriend. When she looked back, he was hanging from the vines of the tree above the car, with his fingertips brushing the roof as his body swung back and forth. When I was younger, a story that used to creep me out was one involving a dog. It was about a girl who was close to her dog, and that every night it would sleep under her bed. And whenever she was scared or lonely, she would put her hand under the bed and let the dog lick her hand. One night she kept on hearing a dripping sound. She found it a bit unsettling, so she put her hand under the bed and felt reassured by the hand licking. The dripping kept on going, so she finally got up to see what it was. She walked into the bathroom and looked in horror. Her dog was hanging from the shower head with blood dripping, and on the wall written in her beloved dog's blood was, "Dogs aren't the only ones who can lick." A family hires a babysitter to watch the children for the evening while the parents go out to dinner. Midway through the meal, one of the parents rang the babysitter to check in. The sitter lets the parents know that everything is fine and the children are now in bed. She asks the parent if it's okay if she throws a blanket over the statue of the clown in the bedroom, as she is a bit scared of clowns. The parent replies, "Grab the kids and get out of the house now. We do not have a statue of a clown in our room." This story has me checking the backseat of my car every time I go out to drive. It's an old cliche, but it gets to me to this day. A girl is leaving a party or dance late at night and she notices a truck following her closely, occasionally flashing its high beams. She speeds up. He speeds up. She takes an unexpected turn. He does the same, and so on. When she gets home, she runs out of the car screaming at her parents that there's a psycho following her. But the guy in the truck calmly gets out and explains. He saw a creepy guy crawl into her backseat just before she left, and every time he popped his head up, the truck driver flashed his high beams in order to scare him. They looked in the car and could see a creepy-looking guy with a knife curled up on the floor of the car. I can't remember who told me this, but I heard that during the plague, lots of people were buried alive because they appeared dead. The graves used to have bells on a string in them, so the dead could ring from their coffins if they awoke. A man would stay in the graveyard to listen out for the bells. One day a bell rang, so the bell listener walked over to the grave that was ringing. He heard a man shouting, "Help, I'm not dead." The bell listener looks at the man's gravestone and said, "But you've been buried for 20 years. A woman babysitting was making some popcorn ready for when she wanted to watch a scary movie. While the kids slept upstairs, she has just sat down with her snack when the phone rang. When she picked up the phone, a creepy voice asked her if she had checked the children. This happened again, so she called the police, who put a trace on the line. When the man called again, the police were able to trace the call from the house itself. Long story short, there was a serial killer in the house. The babysitter ran upstairs to find the children dead and gutted, with a message written on the wall. In blood, I told you to check on the children. The one that's always stuck with me is about a girl who always wore a green ribbon around her neck. One day her sweetheart asked her to marry him, and she said yes, but only if you never asked me to take my green ribbon off. He agreed to those terms, but on their wedding day he asked her to take it off and she replied, no, I told you never to ask me that. On their first anniversary he asked again and she said no again. The same thing happened year after year and she always said no. Then finally, when she was old and on her deathbed, he asked her one last time. She said, okay, you can remove my ribbon. And so he did and her head fell off.